UI Gang, the assassin, is teaching a group of young punks a lesson they won't soon forget. The more aggressive they are, the harder he hits. As they try to scatter, he trips one and raises his axe, freezing the rest in terror. When he's not dishing out vigilante justice, UI Gang enjoys a life of luxury in his lavish villa, reading, sipping coffee, and generally living the good life. However, his wife, eager to keep him busy, asks him to take on a new job, babysitting. The catch? The baby is a 17-year-old girl, the daughter of a friend going through a difficult divorce. The friend, struggling to raise her daughter alone, is having her old, leaky house renovated while she's away on a trip and needs someone to watch over her daughter. UI Gang initially protests, figuring a teenage girl would be uncomfortable staying with a strange man, and suggests she be left alone at home. His wife, however, insists that the girl's house is uninhabitable during the renovations. She brushes aside his concerns, simply handing him the girl's address, phone number, and a pre-planned schedule. Drop his wife off at the airport tomorrow, pick up the girl from her cram school, and settle her into the upstairs bedroom. She stresses that this girl is precious cargo. If she gets even a scratch, he's in serious trouble. This isn't a discussion, it's a direct order, leaving no room for negotiation. The next day, after seeing his wife and her friend off at the airport, UI Gang receives a quick air kiss and a hurried goodbye. Little does he know, he's walking straight into a friend's carefully laid trap. Later that evening, after waiting outside the cram school until it's dark, he finally meets the child, who is clearly a young girl in the prime of her youth. This Yoon-ji even has a friend with her. It strikes UI Gang as odd that anyone would entrust their 17-year-old daughter to a strange man. Girls at this age are curious and impulsive, yet still emotionally immature. This imbalance between physical and mental development makes them vulnerable to making bad decisions. Yoon-ji says she needs to stay at her friend's house for a few days, which suits UI Gang just fine. He slips a wad of cash into her purse, tells her to call him if anything happens, and reminds her to buy a gift for her friend's family, calling it basic courtesy if she wants to stay longer. Not giving it a second thought, UI Gang heads home for a good night's sleep. His slumber is interrupted by a frantic phone call from Yoon-ji. She claims to have a stomachache and begs for his help. Her voice, however, doesn't convey pain so much as urgency. Rushing to her location, he finds her on a date with a young man. Yoon-ji introduces UI Gang as her uncle. The young man politely bows, calls himself Yoon-ji's senior, and quickly disappears. Confused by the situation and Yoon-ji's strange behavior, UI Gang is speechless. Unfazed, Yoon-ji tells him to go home and get some sleep. Unsure what to do with this rebellious teenager and figuring it's not his responsibility, UI Gang shrugs it off and leaves. He doesn't even pay attention to who she's talking to on the phone as he gets into his car. In his rearview mirror, he sees her hop onto the back of a motorcycle with a group of young bikers. What kind of student hangs out with bikers in the middle of the night? Again, not his kid, not his problem. However, at the next intersection, he witnesses a drunk woman being filmed and harassed. His conscience finally gets the better of him. What if something happens to Yoon-ji? The thought gnaws at him. He makes a U-turn, risking a traffic ticket. He had, in fact, slipped a tracking device into Yoon-ji's purse when he gave her the money. Following the signal, he quickly locates her. It turns out that a group of delinquent girls is pressuring her to join their shady activities. The polite senior is revealed to be anything but. He preys on naive young women, using manipulation and violence to force them into prostitution. Girls like Yoon-ji are his preferred targets. Just as Yoon-ji is about to be beaten for her defiance, UI Gang arrives. He bellows a warning. She is not to be harmed. The leader lunges at UI Gang with a knife, but he's quickly taught a painful lesson. None of the thugs is a match for UI Gang's skills. He tells Yoon-ji and her friend to wait outside while he takes care of things at the skating rink. One of the delinquent girls manages to stab UI Gang, but he instantly retaliates with a punch to her face. A minor wound like that is nothing to him. He knocks them all unconscious, figuring it's a lesson learned. Yoon-ji, the girl who almost landed herself in serious trouble, shows no remorse, instead complaining about being hungry and wanting to eat. She peppers UI Gang with questions, wondering why he's so old and doesn't have kids, speculating if he's unable to have them. She's also curious about his job, impressed by his expensive car and large house, assuming he's involved in some lucrative business. UI Gang simply tells her he manages properties for other people. Turns out Yoon-ji is ostracized at school with no real friends. She plans to stay at UI Gang's house for the next 3 weeks, a prospect that fills him with dread. A trouble magnet like her is bound to cause more problems. And he's right, trouble finds him sooner than he expects. That night, while driving past the skating rink, he was stopped by the police. They inform him that a murder has taken place, the victim stabbed to death. His car has been seen frequently in the area, so they're obligated to question him as part of their investigation. Good guy or bad guy, it's still a homicide. The case quickly made headlines. The next morning, the police visit Ui Gang's house, assuring him it's just a routine procedure. They show him a photo taken 30 minutes before the murders. The photo clearly shows Ui Gang's car passing by the rink. What's more, the bikers he saw Yoon-ji with are right in front of his car. The timing of the murders later that night is incredibly suspicious. But Ui Gang, being a seasoned professional killer, lies smoothly, claiming he's nearsighted and couldn't see clearly. Besides, he argues, even the police can't remember every car they see on the road. Finding him a tough nut to crack, the officer changes tactics. They've done their homework on Ui Gang. They know he doesn't have any children. So, who was the young woman with him last night? Ui Gang explains she's the daughter of a friend. His wife and a friend are on vacation, and he's temporarily looking after the girl. Since Yoon-ji always wears a green hoodie, the police suspect she is the girl on the back of the motorcycle. Ui Gang feigns uncertainty, insisting he was with Yoon-ji the entire evening. If they want to speak with her, they'll need to establish a connection to the case first, otherwise they'll scare her. Ui Gang's protectiveness stems from an experience with a similar situation involving another young woman who was bullied. Seeing Yoon-ji, a spark of empathy ignites within him. He won't let anything happen to her. However, his compassion has blinded him to the bigger picture. This isn't just a simple case of schoolyard bullying. The delinquent girl he punched calls him, asking if he's seen the news and warning him that he's screwed. She claims he's responsible for what they've become. The knife he confiscated has his fingerprints all over it. While Ui Gang didn't commit the murders, his fingerprints are indeed on the murder weapon. If the police find out, he has no plausible explanation. The girl threatens him. He has 1 hour to meet them at a specified location, or the knife will end up on the detective's desk. A professional assassin being threatened by a teenage delinquent? Ui Gang can't swallow this insult. He's going to teach these kids a lesson they won't forget. Before leaving, he gives Yoon-ji a tracking bracelet and speeds off on his motorcycle towards the designated building. The location is eerily quiet, deserted, but the scattered flyers on the ground suggest it's not a respectable place. The pictures inside and the thug's menacing appearance confirm his suspicions. He tracked Yoon-ji's stolen wallet to this very room and, as a bonus, he's just knocked out the skinhead guarding the entrance. Ui Gang smashes a bottle over the skinhead's head as a show of force. He wants only one thing, the knife. Hand it over and there will be no trouble. Refuse, and the skinhead's arm won't stay attached to his body. The thug throws the knife, but not without trying a trick. He pulls a gun and aims it at Ui Gang. This punk, clearly misjudging his opponent, thinks he can take on Ui Gang. Ui Gang throws his knife, causing the thug to flinch and fire wildly before scrambling inside. Entering the room, Ui Gang discovers it's not just a few low-level thugs. A formidable killer lurks within. Unfortunately for him, he's met his match in Ui Gang. Retrieving his knife, Ui Gang wants no further trouble. Less is more in this dangerous world. But back home that night, he realizes something is wrong. There are unfamiliar footprints inside. Yoon-ji has been taken. He immediately tracks her bracelet. Looking up, he spots a window bathed in a soft pink light. Inside, it's clearly a shady establishment. From the next room, he hears a girl's screams. It's Yoon-ji's friend. As Ui Gang is about to ask about Yoon-ji's whereabouts, he hears a commotion outside. It's the delinquent girl trying to escape. He grabs her and slams her to the ground. Empty threats don't work in this world. Only strength speaks. Under Ui Gang's pressure, no one can resist talking. The delinquent girl and the senior student are revealed to be part of a ring that lures naive girls into prostitution. There are always impulsive teens who run away from home, quickly run out of money, and resort to selling themselves to survive. They spend what they earn and then sell themselves again. The delinquent girl acts as a recruiter for this operation, and this hotel is one of their bases. Seeing her evasiveness about Yoon-ji's location, Ui Gang touches her thigh. Whether underage or not, men are all the same, he implies. The pain is too much to bear. Finally, she breaks. Yoon-ji is being held at a hotel near the golf course, a place called Don't Tell Dad, but only the people there know who called Yoon-ji to the hotel. Ui Gang, leaving the girl to the police who will soon arrive, races to the hotel on his motorcycle to find Yoon-ji. Unbeknownst to him, when the police find the delinquent girl, she's dead, her legs riddled with fatal wounds. Still unaware that he's being framed, Ui Gang is focused on rescuing Yoon-ji. This is what leads to the opening shootout scene. Outnumbered, but not outmatched, he becomes a whirlwind of destruction. a gun in one hand, a scavenged knife in the other. Guns blaze, knives flash, blood splatters. Facing such a relentless force, the thugs try to flee, but Yui Gang cuts them down. Where is Yoon-ji? He demands. 3 of them, thinking him reasonable, are met with bullets to the face. To the remaining 2, he makes it clear, the first one to talk lives. We really don't know. I swear, we just followed orders. One of them, terrified, is practically wetting himself, kneeling and kowtowing. He insists he doesn't know but promises to find out. His boss knows where she is. If his boss doesn't tell the truth, he'll cause trouble at his boss's son's kindergarten. Before Yui Gang can agree to spare him, the boss is thrown from a window, landing dead at their feet. No need to keep the underling alive now. A blonde man emerges from the hotel. He's the only one left who knows Yoon-ji's whereabouts. He reveals that Yoon-ji and the other girls are at the docks, confident that Yui Gang won't live long enough to find them. Yui Gang, not wanting a protracted fight, delivers a swift kick and dashes into the hotel. He knows the blonde man is highly skilled, requiring strategy rather than brute force. The blonde man, likely ex-special forces judging by his impressive moves, gives chase. Thinking fast, Yui Gang grabs a rope, swings down, and expertly ensnares the blonde man. By the time Yui Gang lands, the blonde man is unconscious, strangled by the rope. Unexpectedly, the police officer from earlier appears on the scene. He accuses Yui Gang of killing the girl at the apartment. The evidence from the skating rink murders is also mounting against him. Yui Gang, focused on finding Yoon-ji, refuses to get bogged down in arguments. The officer, jumping to conclusions, insists Yui Gang is the culprit, a blatant disregard for due process. Yui Gang, at most, is a witness. He sarcastically asks the officer if he's even studied for the bar exam. Not only does Yui Gang disarm the officer, but he also handcuffs him inside his patrol car, a humiliating defeat. But Yui Gang's plan doesn't end there. This compromised officer proves surprisingly useful. Using the dock location given by the blonde man, Yui Gang finds a bustling area filled with shipping containers. Girls are being loaded inside and shipped off. Spotting Yoon-ji in a nearby vehicle, Yui Gang gives chase at full speed, ramming the vehicle and flipping it over. He climbs onto the wreckage, wasting no time with words. Dispatching the goons, he finally rescues Yoon-ji. It's good to see the sunlight again. He's immediately and frantically attacked by another assailant, narrowly dodging the blow. He disarms the man, but doesn't kill him just yet. He takes the attacker's phone, finds the most recent call, and dials it. The phone of the handcuffed officer in the patrol car rings. Yui Gang informs him that his partner is dead and that he now possesses evidence of the officer's corruption. In the distance, sirens wail as a wave of police cars approaches. Exposure would ruin the officer's career. Yui Gang needs someone on the inside to clean up the mess and make everything go away. They strike a deal. Yui Gang, now playing the victim, is loaded onto a stretcher and taken away. After all the chaos, Yoon-ji is thankfully unharmed. She wakes up after 2 days in a coma. The sky darkens, and the rain pours down. This is far from over. He needs to find the person who ordered Yoon-ji to be used as a prostitute. Yui Gang tells Yoon-ji to be honest with the police. No need to hide anything. Yoon-ji, still a teenager, doesn't understand everything, but she knows who's been kind to her. She seems to be developing a crush on Yui Gang. He, however, has no intention of taking advantage of a vulnerable young woman. He bluntly tells her that if she wants to thank him, she can figure out how to pay his hospital bills. He suggests they see less of each other and that she can transfer the money to his account once she's working and earning her own living. With the corrupt officer now in his pocket, the previous incidents are effectively erased. But Yui Gang also has leverage over the officer. During the fight with the blonde man, he discovered the delinquent girl's body in the trunk of the car. Based on his experience, Yui Gang deduces that the blonde man killed her to silence her and frame Yui Gang. The officer was supposed to dispose of the body discreetly, a favor for the blonde man. But why bring the body to the hotel? The incinerator behind the hotel isn't just for burning trash. Now, with mutually assured destruction hanging over them, they have the perfect foundation for cooperation. Yui Gang offers the officer a substantial sum, but only if he reveals who ordered Yoon-ji for prostitution. The officer mentions connections to the Russian mafia, but Yui Gang wants the specific individual. Only then will the deal be complete. As suspected, this situation likely involves high-ranking officials, something beyond the reach of a simple knife and gun. Yui Gang contacts an old friend to inquire about acquiring heavier firepower from the black market. Resorting to such measures in a lawful society is never ideal, but a friend in need is a friend indeed. He requests an M200 sniper rifle with a suppressor. His wife is due back from her trip in a week, and he needs to resolve this before her return. Otherwise, more people might get caught in the crossfire, exposing his vulnerabilities and making the situation far more difficult to control. Yoon-ji tries to inquire about his plans, but Ui Gang tells her to focus on recovering and getting discharged from the hospital. The longer she stays, the more she owes. Yoon-ji insists she'll repay him, questioning why someone so wealthy is so stingy. Money doesn't grow on trees, he reminds her, though admittedly Ui Gang is usually quite generous with his spending. Some information, however, requires a hefty price. Thanks to the power of money, the corrupt officer uncovers some valuable intel. While the person who ordered Yoon-ji remains unknown, they've learned that if Yoon-ji were transported to Vladivostok by the Russian mafia, she would be taken to a hotel run by a man named Hyung-ju. This information comes from the officer's contacts in the International Criminal Police, gleaned through high-level intelligence. Ui Gang requests a photo of Hyung-ju, coffee in one hand, gun in the other, Ui Gang's signature style. Hyung-ju is swiftly dealt with. At that moment, a call comes in from a contact saved as Pig Mom. Ui Gang puts the call on speakerphone. Are the girls for the Fanatics party ready? The target's information will be confirmed separately and texted to him. Do it cleanly, no loose ends. With a suppressed pistol pressed against his temple, Hyung-ju confesses. He only knows the high-ranking official is a judge, whom he hasn't seen in 10 years. He swears on his life, it's the truth. He reveals that the high school girls he kidnaps, through various means, are taken to a resort near the museum to entertain elite clientele. Recently, the supply of girls has been low, hence the request from the Russian mafia. Even the blonde man was connected to them, trafficking Korean girls to Russia for prostitution and discarding them when they're no longer useful. Hyung-ju calls it cultural exchange. A single shot sends Hyung-ju to another world for his own cultural exchange. A plan begins to form in Ui Gang's mind. The hotel, now vacant, cannot remain. He calls in favors from his old network to sanitize the place, even scheduling the next cleaning. With that taken care of, he finally has time to inspect the rifle he ordered. His friend believes Ui Gang owes him a huge debt of gratitude for procuring the weapon, as it's not something he usually deals with. Since the American broker who facilitated the purchase left the country at dawn, the rifle comes with no 3-month warranty or 7-day return policy. Luckily, the contents of the case are authentic, albeit disassembled. The friend begins assembling the rifle, following instructions found online. Ui Gang watches, exasperated. This self-proclaimed firearms expert with 30 years of experience is struggling with a simple assembly. A call from Yoon-ji at the hospital interrupts him. Her friend, who was kidnapped with her, has fallen back into bad habits, and the friend's mother is blaming Yoon-ji for everything. Ui Gang is unsure how to comfort her. Such things happen and no one wants them to. He just hopes Yoon-ji can stay out of trouble. Ui Gang asks the corrupt officer to look into Yoon-ji's family background and stumbles upon a shocking revelation. The woman believed to be Yoon-ji's mother isn't her biological parent. Her father died in an accident 3 years prior, leaving her with her stepmother. The officer also identifies the judge as the Chief Justice of the High Court, a man of immense power and political influence. Ui Gang isn't concerned with the judge's status. He simply needs to know who his target is and the extent of their security. What good is power and influence in the face of death? These men, already privileged, engage in such vile acts. Ui Gang will be their judge, jury, and executioner. At the secluded resort where the judge holds his twisted gatherings, Ui Gang uses his sniper rifle to eliminate the outer perimeter guards, infiltrating the compound. Expecting a clear shot at the judge, he's double-crossed. The judge's security team, led by the blonde man, surrounds him. Cornered but unyielding, Ui Gang demands confirmation, looking the judge in the eye. Was it you? Did you order Yoon-ji taken? The officer's betrayal is predictable. A freelance killer versus a powerful judge? The choice is clear. To demonstrate loyalty, the officer promises to stage Ui Gang's death as an accident, leaving no loose ends. Gaining the judge's favor outweighs any previous corruption. Isn't this what power is for? But the officer severely underestimates Ui Gang's skills. A swift move and the officer is on the ground. A nearby table leg becomes a makeshift weapon, efficiently dispatching the remaining guards. Traitors deserve no mercy. This entire setup was Ui Gang's plan all along. You know why I let you capture me? To get to the judge. Only one formidable opponent remains. The blonde man. Special forces trained, he's a dangerous adversary, even capable of overpowering Ui Gang at times. But their circumstances differ. One, a hired gun. His body softened by a life of indulgence, his attacks lacking the same lethal edge. Victory is Ui Gang's. The blonde man makes a desperate grab for a knife. Ui Gang ends it decisively. A brutal kick sends the blonde man flying into the pool, staining the water crimson. The resort's soundproofing is impeccable. The judge, having just indulged in young flesh, remains blissfully unaware. Stepping out of his room, he's confronted by Ui Gang in the living room. No need to look for help. There's none to be found. Facing imminent death, the judge makes a desperate plea. He's the next Supreme Court Chief Justice nominee. Sparing him would guarantee immense future rewards. A single phone call could erase Ui Gang's past and protect him from future consequences. Let's forget this. Let's all move on. He attempts to pin the blame on Officer Lee and Pig Mom. Ui Gang isn't a fool. Accepting this deal would lead to an immediate ambush. The judge, willing to sacrifice others today, would discard him tomorrow. Such treachery deserves only one response: a bullet. Ui Gang is a whirlwind of lethal force, a flower of vengeance blooming in the kill. One final loose end remains: Pig Mom. Feigning friendship with his wife to get close to him was no act of kindness. He demands her motive. She confesses to hearing about his properties, hoping to use Yoon-ji as leverage to manipulate him. She underestimated his principles. The car, as instructed, drives to the outskirts. Ui Gang promises to care for Yoon-ji, but those who perpetrate evil must face consequences. Not everyone deserves to live. Ui Gang's oblivious wife returns from her trip, finding a 17-year-old girl has joined their household. Their new life as a family of three begins.